Hey everybody, this is Josh from Big Red Sports Network, Big Red Live, coming to you from Appalachian State for me, and we're joined with us our coaches Tim McMahon, Tom Harper, and Coach Billy Wisnant. Coach Billy Wisnant comes in this week following a 31 to nothing victory over the Draughn Wildcats as his Patton Panthers pick up the first win of the season. Coach Mac and Harper, y'all were at the game on Friday night. Y'all got to commentate some football and see some football. What were your thoughts overall on the game this Friday night?
I think the first thing, then I think Coach Mack would say the same thing, as we're just excited for Coach Wisnant getting a win and excited for his team. Thought we haven't watched film, he has, but I thought they executed really hard, played really hard, executed really well. And, uh, you hate to see, we feel bad for Coach overdrawn, uh, Coach Powell, but for the most part, very happy for Coach Wisnant and his team.
Yeah, I would echo that. I think you know Chris has had some really good teams in the past. I know Patton's just trying to get the footing, and I think it was very important to get that first victory. It always is, and I was just impressed. I was a little concerned when I figured I saw the second series. I saw the running back Catman. I can always want to put a pin. I think it's Catman go in, and I could tell he wasn't probably going to be able to play. But I was really impressed with the other running back. Is his name River Billy
Rivers quarterback. It's Alex.
Alex?
Yeah, Alex Ryan.
Alex Ryan.
Alex Ryan, yeah, I remember him. Boy, he really played hard and had
I,
some movement too, like a little old water bug.
yeah, and I think most important, I just thought that really kind of had control of that football game from the get go. Draughn made a couple of mistakes, and you do what winning teams did at that game is take advantage of it. And once you got the lead, I was impressed, particularly half with your offensive line play. I thought they put their hat on people and gave that running back even more, and you kind of controlled the game running the ball. So a lot of good things Friday night. It's always good to get one, and now you can move forward and try to be competitive all the rest of the game.
I'll tell you one thing. One thing that stood out to me Friday night from the Patton game was how much of an impact the kicking game had on the outcome of that game. You know, Colston Queen had a very good game, punting the ball, kicking the ball, just giving drawn a long field every time, and that is honestly a really good weapon to have, a really good kicking game. And in my honest opinion, I felt like that was the biggest X factor that played into that game on Friday night.
Well, during the game, Coach Mack and I were even commentating about how every time the ball was kicked off, it was in the end zone. That's a weapon, huge weapon.
Yeah, he's. I don't have many seniors, but he's one of them, and he's honestly he's just still raw. He just has a huge leg. Um, uh, he's went to some camps, um, and some different things that have really kind of spurred his interest in it. But I mean, he was a soccer kid, so. Um, but yeah, it becomes a weapon. Um, you know, feel unfortunate for him. We haven't really given him a lot of opportunities to kind of show it off. It's just been right outside of his range. But I mean, he continuously hits in the 55, 57 range in practice. You know, obviously with no rush, but so he has a strong leg, and obviously kickoff wise, just being able to kind of know where we're going to start, and being able to even if they don't, even if they do return it, it's usually 1 or 2 yard line, and so you get a chance to get down the field and give them long fields. Played field game with them a little bit, so it's been an asset for us.
Yeah, he's a real weapon. It became obvious in that game early on that field position was probably going to be the most important factor, along with turnovers. And I think you guys were able to convert field position and then 2 turnovers in field position, which set you up for scores. Well, one was interception return, as I recall, for the second touchdown. The first touchdown was set up by the a good punt, and I believe then a fumble right away at 4. So you got ahead of the field position, got ahead of the scoreboard, and maintained that field position. It was obvious that Draughn was going to struggle to do a whole lot offensively, and so field position was going to be huge, and you guys won that. The kicker had a lot to do with that.
Yeah.
Well, Coach, you've had some time to reflect on the win on Friday, and some interesting thing about it was, it's your first victory back as a varsity program, having been absent last season, and it was the first home victory for the Patton program since 2021. Given some time to kind of reflect on the game, what's your overall thoughts on Friday night?
Well, as I said Friday night, I have not seen these guys quit. They always play hard, and some of them are. We probably had 140 plays in the game. Some of them don't come off the field, and so, but they just keep going. And so, that's the big takeaway for me is that they're still there, still fighting, even in games when we haven't been as competitive. They're still playing. I was excited for them. I was excited for the community. But I've kind of got conditioned from college. You get a little bit of time to kind of let it soak in, then on to the next one. And so I try to stay in my routine and watching film, grading film, doing different things. So I don't. I'm a routine type person, so. I've let myself enjoy it a little bit, but I know it's a grind, so I'll enjoy it more probably as the season goes along. But right now, it's just kind of on to the next one.
Well, we're very proud of you. I think thing that I want to be able to say about Coach Whisenant is that he understands and remembers his biggest responsibility, which is building of men. And his job is not only X's and O's, it's more importantly about the Jimmies and Joes and building, preparing young men for the next chapter in their lives. So he gets that. He understands that. Would he like to win 11 ball games every year? Sure, he would. But he's in it for the right reason. Not saying anything about anybody else. That he's the guy we're talking about today. So I'm happy you got a win, but I'm more proud of you the way you handle yourself every day about accepting the challenges of being a head coach in a high school program, and still knowing that you're there to build young men. So keep it up.
Well, thank you. Means the world.
And Coach Mack, I know he'd say the same thing because we both have had the opportunity to be around you and coach you. We're just proud of what you're doing.
Well, as I said when I was kind of announced you guys are there, means the world. I see you two guys as mentors. Heavy influence from both of you, on me. I think
Debbie, you trying to say something?
just heavy influences on me.
I got you. I'm joking.
And my ideas of particularly X's and O's kind of come from both of you guys, and so take the opportunity to thank both of you for being such an important part in my life and guiding me when I was younger. Lost and wandering through, I had no idea what college was going to bring, and you kind of showed me the way and had the light on for me.
Well, Billy, Coach, I still remember Billy's. This how far back it goes. I remember like yesterday Billy's visit to Catawba College. We were recruiting Billy, and I remember Billy coming in at 18. I guess you were 18. You might have been a little younger. I don't know, but you hadn't even graduated high school yet. Coming in, and we were trying to get you signed on to play offensive line, and I go back to thinking back that day, and then think about coming all this time all around to Friday night to you coaching the team and winning, and how that river is twisted and turned and it's just it really makes you reflective. But I remember that very first time you came into Catawba College, you're a raw recruit. You wasn't even signed up to play, and that all. And then of course had to coach and all that. But man, that was a long time ago.
Yes, it was.
Been a year or two ago.
Yeah, yeah. I guess I don't remember the year. What year did you finish Freedom, Billy?
Graduated in '92.
92. So that
And y'all brought me in for Coach Harper. I was over there with him that first beginning part. It wasn't until spring that we fully moved me over to offensive line. So I got a semester tutelage under Coach Harper there.
He got tired. He got tired of me and moved over to O-line with you, Coach Mike.
That was an attrition thing. That I don't know anymore. That was more.
Was that James B. that coached you?
That was you for about a year, and then obviously you took the Freedom job about a year after. So you were there 2 years with me, and then.
But was I OL? Had I moved?
You were OL/OC. Jamie, Coach Snyder kind of took over for you a little bit. Y'all kind of tag teamed us and broke us up into different parts. But for the most part, you were there, and then Coach Snyder kind of took over my last few years there, my last 3 years there after my red shirt.
Josh, this could go on for an hour. You better step in.
I guess I might, but I do want to ask this question to Billy because I've noticed the trend here with the past couple of weeks when we've had coaches, J.K. Adkins on, and now with Billy, the connections. Billy, how does it feel to, having been a former player of Coach Mack, Coach Harper, and see them at the game supporting, not only, just being there to support you in what you do, knowing that you took the path that, they had taken, inspiring you as an athlete?
Well, it's just a lot of pride. It's prideful in the fact that they were there, and I told them there after the game. I was, most honored that they were there to kind of live it with me. Like I say, I will owe it to them. I had a lot of learning to do, even after college, and so when they brought me in coaching, I'm not the boisterous, outlandish person as most people would think. I'm kind of the shy, sit in the background type, and so they kind of brought me out of my shell. It's either get on out, so to speak. So just the pride of it, just carrying on the tradition of the things they have taught you and the things you have learned under them, tutelage wise and football, but more importantly, life. And that's what I get passed along, and I try to pass along to my kids. Is you never know what's coming after this, but life's going to keep going, and so being ready for that. There's a lot of life lessons you can take out of football and take over into real life, and that's what we try to pass along, just like they passed along to me.
Yeah, and one thing I've noticed about you coaching over at Patton is that you've really started to get the community behind you over there at Patton High School. The past two games that I can remember being at, like Coach Harper and Mack were with me as well when we did the live streams there. The home side was full, and the student section was full. The band was rocking it out. Billy, my question to you is, how much of an impact does that have on trying to retool this program back to being a winning program, having that atmosphere, having the student section and the band?
Well, I've been a lot of different places, and definitely Patton has one of, if not the best, student section support sections that I've seen. Even cheering in earlier games, we were, even in the Owen games, we weren't necessarily having a lot of success, but they were still there. They were still cheering. The band was still playing. It plays a lot into it. They play at the right times and not the wrong times. That turns sometimes when you can't hear on. They could be a nuisance to the other team as well. So that's a big. And as I said when I took the job, this community is starving to have success, and it takes time. It's building it up, but they haven't gave up, and they're still there. They're still showing up for the kids, and they notice. Believe it or not, they notice. They're there. They can hold their heads high just a little bit more, and I think that's kind of the big thing there on Monday when they walk in. It's been a while. I think in 3 years, I think they had a win. They had a home win. So just being able to walk in, get high on Monday, feeling good about yourself for them.
Coaches, y'all got anything to add?
I'd just like to congratulate Billy again and tell him how y'all are very proud. I also say one thing, so we don't. Last week I wasn't able to be there, but Coach Atkins on, and I think it's important, and I know we all know this, that it very well could be if we'd been able to do this show last year, whatever year before, it could be Chris sitting here too, Chris Powell, because you're having a tough year. Chris hasn't forgotten how to coach. I don't want everybody to know that down in Valdez.
Amen.
He hasn't forgotten how to coach, and he's still the same coach. One coach of the year. It's just it's high school football at certain programs, and I'm just as proud as Chris, as I am Billy, as I am J.K. And for that matter of fact, I'll include Coach Reed, Albert Reed at Bunker Hill. They're not having as good a year as they've had in the past, but I promise you, none of them young coaches forgot what they learned in 1 year. And they're every bit as good a football coach. And the thing about high school, with some programs, you're gonna go up, you're gonna go down, and around and around sometimes. So I'm very proud of Billy, and it made my heart. You can't imagine how good I felt Friday night. But I also am all proud of all those guys, and really proud of all the coaches, not just the ones that I had, that me and Tom, or I had. Tom got some guys that he coached over at Alexander's, and guys he coached at East Burke that coached. I know one down in South Carolina that Tom, had a direct influence on. So it's just understand that it's more than that scoreboard on Friday nights. And it took me a long, long, long time to understand that. A young person, as a young coach, that scoreboard, I'm not too proud to admit, drove a lot of my decisions. And as I got older and began to understand and begin to have a little better perspective, that it's more than the scoreboard. I can say that now that I'm out of coaching, because we all know scoreboards can affect how long you got a job. And that's just the reality of it. It shouldn't, but I'm proud of all them guys. And these people that get real antsy and nervous about, it's a real short-sighted. I just hope our administrators understand how lucky they are to have people in charge of their programs. They're going to lead people. And most important, the kids that come out of these programs, if they'll stay in these programs, are going to win the battle of competition of life. Not only but the competition of life. And that's what we try to do. And in some instances, we won a lot of those battles with those kids. We lose some too now, but we won more than we lost. But Billy knows how much I think of it right now.
Coach Harper, you got anything else?
No, I think that pretty much sums it up. I agree with everything Coach Mack had to say. It's another whole subject when it comes to me. Lord knows I didn't make all the right decisions when I was a head coach, but I always felt like, this came from my dad, in that he always told me, you coach your players like they're your own children. You love them that much. And that's what was indoctrinated me when I first started coaching from my father. And I think that we put way too much of an emphasis on win, 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 and not develop, develop, develop. And you're going to, like Coach Mack said, high school is very up and down like a roller coaster. Chris Powell and Albert Reed and some other ones were world beaters a year or two ago. Could beat anybody. But now, because they've lost some key parts, they can't do anything right. They can't coach a lick. Well, like he said, they ain't changed a bit. And if you can continue to develop kids and understand that high school is preparation for the rest of their lives, then I think everything else will be put in order. That's pretty good for somebody who did not want to say anything.
Yeah, I feel like I was taking a philosophy class right there.
Well,
Well said, Coach
I
Harper.
hope you were taking notes, Josh Dula.
I mean, that's on recording. We'll have to go back and review the footage so I can write that down.
Thank you for letting me give my opinion.
Absolutely. Coach Whisenant, we appreciate you for taking time to come on and talk to us about about the game this week and talk about the program. And we know you're an awfully busy person, being able to, having to coach all weekend, and you telling us that you've been going through film and stuff. So, as always, we really appreciate you and appreciate the support. And a big thank you to you and Athletic Director Rob Gregory for accommodating us to allow us to live stream the game this past Friday.
Well, as I said Friday night, thank you guys for including us in that. We enjoyed that. Our kids enjoyed it. I've got family members who live off in different states, and they were able to tune in and kind of enjoy that with us. I've got messages from college buddies who was able to tune in and see some things, and so it's a great opportunity. And I want to thank you guys for, particularly Big Red, for what you guys do, putting the spotlight on kids in this area. Sometimes it gets lost, and you do it for all teams. It's not just one or the other. You don't just handpick. And so we thank you for all you do as well.
Absolutely, Coach. Coaches, any last words for Coach Whisenant?
We love you, Billy.
Love you, Billy. Good luck, buddy.
All right, thank you. Good luck. Good luck to y'all. Love y'all, and appreciate your support. And same to you, Josh.
Well, if you lose another one, we're not going to talk to you at all.
Oh, darn. No pressure there at all.
All right, Coach. Well, thank you for tuning in, and we hope to have you on soon.
All right, thank you, sir.
Yeah, have a good night, Coach. All right, coaches. Once again, talk about Friday night. Obviously, you two did the color commentation for that game for us, and obviously we had our issues. But I just wanted to say thank you for dealing with the technical issues and hanging in there with us despite the issues. I enjoy being able to sit in the press boxes, y'all, and just watch y'all, commentate the game. Especially Mac. I watch Mac sometimes, and he really gets into it.
Oh, he loves it. He absolutely loves it, as he should. He's good at it. He is.
Oh.
I've always told him, if he had not been a coach, he would have been awesome at that. I think that's what's so cool about us doing it together, is that I enjoy watching and listening to him as well, because he does it so well.
Oh, I don't know. Wait a minute, guys.
No, I am not. If you were no good at it, I would say you're not good at it.
Yeah.
You have always, even when we were driving down the road to a high school football game when we were at Catawba, you would always say to me, and you commented sometimes at the games we were at. So don't tell me you don't enjoy it.
I do. I grew up listening to football a lot on the radio.
That's right.
And
I'll be right back. I got to get my power cord.
Yeah, I learned that by just growing up listening to football games. I didn't get to watch as many on television, but I grew up listening on the radio to games on Saturday and picking up the Falcons on the radio on Sundays out of Atlanta. So I kind of grew up with the football on the radio more than I did on the television.
Yeah.
And you probably heard some really good commentators.
Oh man, I was a big Carolina fan, so
Woody Durham.
Woody Durham, and then I'd pick up the state guys and Appalachian guys, and I listened to a lot of games, listen to a lot of baseball games. So I kind of, when we're going up TV, wasn't this big a thing, and we only had 3 channels, so there was only one football. There was one college game on a week and one pro game on a week, and we might get 2 pro games if the NBC station came in, out of Charlotte. Sometimes we couldn't get it until that's how far it was. But yeah,
we're going to go ahead and get into some announcements before we move on real quick. Some announcements for tonight. As always, Big Red Live is sponsored by Blue 42 and Countryside Barbecue. Thank you for once again supporting the Big Red Sports Network through our scoreboard challenge and our pick'em polls. For the scoreboard challenge this week, the Countryside Barbecue gift certificate winner was Kyle Fox. Congratulations on that. And for the pick'em poll this week, we had a 2-way tie between Corey Beach and Rita Benfield, and we're going to go ahead and do a wheel spin for that to make sure
it gets exciting again, doesn't it?
Oh, just give us a little drum roll here,
I'm not good.
This week's winner is going to be, I'm going to hold on, wait till it stops. Our winner this week is Rita Benfield. Congratulations on winning the
all right, Rita.
The Blue 42 Pick'em poll. As always, our Pick'em polls are posted weekly. We will have ours posted later tonight, and it will be involving some of the games coming up this week, which I'll have pulled up here soon. But before we do that, we're going to go over some of the games in the area this past week, if I can pull that up real quick. See, I made this joke with Harper last week. I was like, you guys usually are my filler for this stuff when I go out and do these switch screens, so
we'll try again.
Absolutely.
How much is that gift certificates for?
I believe they're $10, but I'm not.
You are not eligible.
Well, I think the broadcasters on the live stream ought to get one. I'd like to go to that.
So you've been to Blue 42s.
No, are you saying you want some more? Oh my God, good chicken tenders?
No, I won't. I thought you said it was for the barbecue place up in Marion.
You ain't going to Marion.
If I had a gift certificate, I might go to Marion.
$10 gift certificate.
Trust me, Countryside Barbecue is so good that you don't even need a gift certificate to go get you some good food.
Oh boy, that sounds like looks like he's practiced that one.
Listen, I learned from the best in Tom Harper and Tim McMahon.
There you go.
Absolutely. So here is our Week 6 scoreboard from this past week. Some notable games that we had on the slate. Newton Conover over Bandy's in what was considered to be a pretty big upset in the area, with Newton Conover coming away with a 36-35 victory.
That had to be a heck of a game.
Oh, absolutely. And, a lot of the games this week were kind of lopsided. In fact, I don't think there were many close games on this slate from this past week outside of that Newton and Bandy's game. You had Allegheny fall to Starmount yesterday morning, 23-22. Starmount hit a walk-off field goal in that one. But the rest of the games, they were pretty much decided by the fourth quarter. But of all the games that you see here, coaches, what are the ones that stand out to you?
Yeah, they're so lopsided that they're not. I mean, I think we just got done talking about programs being up and down. Correct me if I'm wrong, but North Lincoln last year made it to the third round of the playoffs.
Yes.
Am I correct? And they got beat by Hickory in the third round?
Yes.
Well, I don't know. They really have hit a whole different level of bottom, because they're just getting beat by everybody, and poor old Hickory took them out to the woodshed, it looks like. I think the biggest question about all this is how lopsided everything is. And I mean, it might be the reason for all this might be that we're seeing the lopsidedness of high school football right now. a lot of these teams, I'm hoping will be able to get better in time, but it just maybe it was just a week where the good teams played the not so good teams, and that's because. And I'm proud of Newton Conover. I tell you, Matt Wilson's doing a heck of a job at that school, and the coach at Bandy's is really doing a good job because they've not always been competitive. So uh, that's my thoughts on that. Coach Mack, you got anything else to say about that?
We'll talk a little later, but there's just so many lopsided scores. It's just, I just I don't remember last year the scores, but uh, it, this is either an oddity or we have a pretty concerning trend going that there just shouldn't be. To me, for the middle of the season, it just seems odd to have that many lopsided non-competitive. A 30-point game, a 25-point game, that's really not competitive, and just a lot of those games where they're not competitive. Or most likely, most of these games were over at halftime. That's just a little concerning to me. But
Yeah, and I definitely think it kind of sets the stage for some big time Week 7 matchups. I know, uh, coaches, you've been kind of talking about this potential Freedom and Watauga matchup that's coming up Friday night. Watauga continues to roll with an easy win at Asheville's. They just go up the mountain and take care of business. So, having Freedom given an extra week to prepare for Watauga, what are your expectations for this potential matchup this Friday night?
well, we've talked about this. I think that even though it's Friday going to be October, it'll still be September. I haven't
Be
looked.
October 3rd.
Okay, so for the very first week in October, in all actuality, the reality of this, but most likely, this game is for the conference championship, and most likely, unless somebody falls on hard times or stub their toe really bad, whoever wins this game is most likely going to go undefeated. If if the scores hold up that I've been seeing, and you think somebody have to, one of these two teams, Watauga or Freedom, will have to really stub their toe bad to lose again in this conference, or to get their first losses. So there's a lot, even though it's the first game of the conference, it is a lot riding on Friday night. The inside track for the championship by far, the inside track for an undefeated season for both teams. So that's a lot riding on an early October game. Most of the time, those matchups come later in the season, or there's another team, and maybe I'm shortchanging Alexander and South and St. Stephen's and McDowell, but looking at scores, I don't think I am.
I think you make a valid point, but I think all that is correct in that. But I think and this is something we talked about the other day, Tim, is that it's been a long time since Freedom hosted a game where it really meant something. This one means a bunch. And after talking with Coach Atkins last week, he understands that, and he understands that his biggest work is going to be this past week, making sure that they understand the importance of this game in their program.
Yeah, great thing. It's a high stakes game that we haven't had out at Freedom in a long time.
Right.
I can't go back and tell you the last real high stakes game. I'm sure it's not been that long, but
this will be the talk of high school football.
Since I've gotten back from South Carolina, going into the game now. Freedom Watauga had a heck of a game 2 years ago. Heck of a game, best game I've seen since I've been back. But
it wasn't the talk.
It wasn't the high stakes game. We didn't know it was that close. This game may not. Who knows how the outcome will be? It may not be as close one way or the other. We don't know that yet. But I know it's been a while since we've had two undefeated teams come in and match up that are, if you look at the scores, look like two of the best teams in the whole part of the state. So, I think it's great. And I think the Freedom kids, and maybe Watauga's seen some of this, but it'll probably be one of the largest crowds they've played in front of in a long time. That stadium, me and you both know when that stadium's full and it's exciting, that stadium can get loud.
Oh yes.
Probably going to be a sound that they've not heard before. When you come out there, I can still remember coming out that for Fat Friday when the game was important. Even as a coach, I'm like, oh, this is different.
Exactly.
We played a lot of games here, but it ain't felt like this, and it ain't sounded like this. And sometimes for a little while, if your kids ain't been around that some, it can kind of hit you a little different, and it might take you a step or two to get your pace back. So it'll be interesting to see how the kids react. But what I'm just excited about, I think there's going to be a big crowd. I think the folks from Boone have always traveled well, and I think they'll travel very important because they know too what is at stake here.
Exactly.
And it's great. It's great. We need more matchups like this, even if the games are not between two teams that are perceived to be the best in the conference. We need more games with higher stakes around us. And
and talking just for you and I, we just get excited about a matchup like this.
Yeah.
To where we don't have to make decisions about it the whole week or that night. So
we won 3 weeks ago.
That's exactly right.
Both teams took care of business and did what they're supposed to, and then Freedom had such a lopsided, unbelievable offensive and defensive performance against Riddle. Just set this up because Watauga's been doing the same thing. Watauga's scores are crazy. I don't know which team has scored more points, but it's pretty close, and it's a lot to a little. And Watauga's been on top here for a while, and Freedom, it's turned. I can remember when Freedom won 20-some straight games against Watauga. We never lost to Watauga when I was a coach here, never. And now
we used to want to schedule them for homecoming every year.
For the homecoming team. I mean, that was the homecoming team.
That's right.
And so, if Freedom's going to get back into the driver's seat or try to take control back of this conference, they got to win this game. They don't have to win this. There's more games down the line. There's more games with Watauga later on. But it kind of, if you think back, Tom, when we were at Freedom together, it took us some building. We had to play Crest.
Oh yeah.
That Crest game when we actually got over the top down there in '98, I think it was
'96. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Whatever we played at Crest.
Yeah, it was our third year, and
yes,
that football game that kind of put us in control, and we won the conference that year. So, it was kind of reminds me of that situation. I wonder, Watauga's got they probably got the longer established program, the current program, and Freedom is kind of the new kid on the block a little bit as far as this generation of Freedom. So very talented, but those guys have the experience. They've been in games like this, so it'll be interesting to see. I'm just very excited. Very excited.
This is the kind of game that if you win it, it can be a difference maker in your program. If you play competitively, it can be a difference in your program.
Yeah.
Because Watauga, give the guy his due. Ryan Hobbick has done a terrific because of what we just talked about, how they were notoriously a homecoming team every year. And now look at them. They're perennial powerhouses from this area every year. He's done a heck of a job.
You see how this is working out. Not that South's going to have a good team here and Alexander have a good team, but most years, I'm just telling you how this thing's going to play out. It looks like it's going to be Watauga and Freedom, and those other teams will come in and upset them every now and then. But generally speaking, one of these two teams are going to be the top dog. They're going to have to square one another in eye to eye like we had to do Crest. And we beat them a couple, then Crest came back, got a little more control, and then we was out of the conference. But
it's like a big boxing match.
At some point, Freedom, maybe not, if it's not this year, but soon, to get to control of the conference. And you need to have control of the conference to have, I think, deep playoff runs because it's, that seeding means so much. So at some point, Freedom's going to, they'll have to get over these guys.
That's right.
It may not be this it's an opportunity to take
Amen.
control of the conference that Freedom had for a long time, and it's an opportunity. And without the work that Coach Atkins has done and this team and this right set of kids, I'm just glad to have the opportunity, and I'm glad I'm going to be there Friday to be able to see it.
Amen.
I think the last time Freedom had an opportunity like this to take control of the conference was 2019.
Yeah,
So
well, before I got,
it's been half a decade since they played a meaningful game like this in a conference like this, and
yep.
it's been even longer since Freedom's actually won the conference. So we'll see how it goes Friday night on the banks of the majestic Catawba River. But I think it's got Freedom's got an opportunity here to really make a statement, whether it be they pull off a win or if they're just being competitive, because history over the past 5-6 years they just haven't been very competitive with Watauga.
Yeah, they were very competitive 2 years ago. It about pulled off a stunning upset. It would have been a big upset. Couldn't get an onside kick, or they would have pulled that off. But this quarterback, Davis, he's the quarterback on that team. And I noticed something that whole season with this kid. And of course, last year was a little funky because he had a bad shoulder. This is JK's new offense. I don't think he was as comfortable as he was, and now he seems to be very comfortable and very in stride. And I'm telling you, the other night at that football game, I don't remember a throw not being perfect. I mean, I'm sure there was, but every throw not only was on target, it was right where it needed to be to allow the receiver, whoever was catching it, to keep running. So he was not only hitting his targets, he was putting it right where it's supposed to be. So he's obviously feeling really good, and he should. And the whole Freedom team's got a lot of confidence. But that from the kickoff of that first series, all that can change if you're not ready. Because the year before we beat Crest, Tom, if you remember, we thought we were ready and we wasn't.
Oh yeah.
But it took us one more year before we were really ready, and then when we were really ready, we won the game. So it'll be a good measuring stick, and it's just I'm just happy that we got this opportunity.
Yes, Freedom Watauga, obviously one of the games to watch out for this Friday night. Another one to keep your eyes out for. Maiden and Hickory coming in for a matchup this week. This is going to be a big one in Catawba County with major conference implications on it. These two teams are standing in the top three of the conference, and I think it's a 3-horse race in that Western Foothills Conference between Hickory, Maiden, and East Lincoln. So, this game between Hickory and Maiden could be a seeding game that's going to have a lot of implications on it this Friday night.
You're right. That's a big game. And, if Maiden wants to be the big dog in all this, they're going to have to beat Hickory. It's another discussion like we just had about Watauga and Freedom. Maiden wants to be the top dog. They're going to have to beat the guy that they've been the top dog, and that's Hickory.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then one more game that I see on the slate that I think is going to be a really good game this Friday night. This South Point at Crest is what I believe will be one of the games to watch as well this Friday night.
That will be very good.
Very, very good football game. Two really good football teams. And that's if I wasn't going to Freedom Watauga, that's where I would be.
Well, coaches, I wanted to kind of steer the conversation here a little bit earlier. We had a little bit of a conversation earlier, about teams being down in certain counties and stuff like that. And one thing I do want to talk about is how a county can support successful football teams. More particularly, one question we get asked a lot is it possible for a county, for example, like Burke County, to field 4 successful football programs? I wanted to pick your brains because you both have been in the position of being an athletic director and a football coach. So I just wanted to see what your sound off is on that.
Well, first, I think, again, everything I'm saying here, I think Coach Mack would agree with. And the good thing about Coach Mack is our relationship, if he doesn't agree with what I say, he usually tells me. But be that as it may, I want to go on record as saying there was a reason why that this decision was made at some one point in time to have 4 high schools in Burke County. Now, with that said, I don't know why they said that. Maybe Coach Mack has got something to say about that and has some information to share with us. But I feel like looking at the decision now that it's kind of watered down the chance of being successful for at least 2 high schools. Um, but I know in particularly one that is struggling because I feel like it's it it's just watered down. I don't know if I want to go any deeper than that, but I'm going to pass it off to Coach Mack because
Well, it's a touchy
I want
subject.
to hear what he's got to say.
You know, it's been on how you measure success, but if you're gonna, it's always going to be harder to field 4 competitive teams in one county than 2. I just think that's natural. Now, if you take on the other hand, you got more opportunities for kids. Um, there's more opportunities, more positions at every. There's more band positions, whatever. That's important. Uh, I think it's important. I think where the disconnect. I don't know if there is a disconnect. That if I the schools, if you're going to have them compete with one another, they ought to be competitive in enrollment. There's a reason we have different divisions, and that's be my only thing. There's only so many football players to go around in this county, and that's just a fact. And if kids, they're not blind. If they want to gravitate towards success, it's just the bottom line. That's the rest.
You're going the way I thought you were
Yeah,
going to go, and the way I was going to go too.
I don't
In
know how
this.
success, but yeah, there's a lot of different ways to measure success. I would just hope that whatever happens in any athletic endeavor, that the main concern is making it as good as we could for the kids. And we, nothing about. I know we can't ignore finance, but decisions about who competes against who shouldn't be based on any revenue streams. I believe this county is well enough to do. We can support 4 football teams without depending on absolutely depending on Friday night crowd and drive how we do.
But
And
you just said, in order to, from what I'm hearing from what you said, if we're going to have 4 high schools in Burke County, then you ought to be able to give them all an opportunity to be successful. And when they are leaving certain schools to go to another school, that's not being competitive. That's not helping that program. Am I right in saying that?
well, I mean that's kind of that's the reality. Kids are but what I'm saying is what I feel like is you have to take every situation individually and you have to evaluate whether there's nothing worse for, I believe, a kid playing football, being in a competitive situation, put in a situation they're outmatched,
Or
either
they know there's no way they can win ever.
or even having any risk of physical injury. We're not talking about sports. I coached baseball for 8 years. You can be outclassed talent wise, but you're not normally out there knocked on the ground. And I just think you have to be very cautious and understand that, other sports, the scoreboard can be lopsided. Most states not going home hurt. And you just have to be very careful and consider that, where are we competitively? Are we doing, or make sure that we put kids in opportunity situations? And everybody wants a big Friday night crowd. Everybody wants to say, hey, we got these teams. But the fact of the matter is, the reality of it is that's just not the case. And I don't think say anything that's not obviously plain as in your face reality. And I just want to make sure that every kid in this has an opportunity to play football at whatever school they're at and have an opportunity, the best opportunity they can to be successful and to have a fun, successful learning experience. And we talk about developing people, and part of that is making sure the playing field is level.
That's
If
right.
you can't have a playing field that's level, then you got to make sure that you level it for them, that you're not overmatching them, particularly in the sport of football. Because if you overmatch in football, you're rolling the dice because it is a contact.
It becomes a detrimental to those kids.
And I will repeat, so everybody listening, play for Johnny Anderson. If football isn't a contact sport, it's a hitting sport, and that's just the way it is. So as I get older and I get to see some of these games, I'm like, uh, maybe we need to reevaluate this because here, I mean, it concerns me. And I'm going to stop. I don't mean to sit on here and preach, and I'm not saying anything that I'm going to be controversial, but I've been a coach long enough to see like Team A and Team B, they're not alike. They're not close to being alike. You wouldn't expect Team A, if they're not as good, to go down and play play a team, in college football. And then there's just too big of variance to be what I would feel good. I'm gonna stop talking, but
Well, that's the biggest reason that this question has come up, Joshua, is because you're hearing from people that feel like they're in a position to where they're not competitive. They're not afforded an opportunity to be competitive, and they see uh, their stepbrother over here in the same county who is, winning all kinds of games, and they're wondering why they can't be the same way. You know, um, it's an age-old question. And again, I'm going to come back from what I said earlier. Somebody somewhere made this decision by laying down all the questions about it at the time and why they were going this route, and they made the best decision they thought they had needed to make for Burke County. But hindsight's 2020, and looking at the different high schools in the county, I don't see apples to apples. That's just my opinion. You know what they say about opinions. So I'm not trying to be controversial, like Coach said. I'm not trying to do anything but just give my opinion. I don't think you're comparing apples to apples.
well, there are teams that can step up above their classification and play and be very competitive. They are, but when a team's not in that position to have to step up in classification, I don't care if they're 5 miles apart or if they're 20 or 50. That's why coaches, you don't want to have that. You don't want to have a game schedule where the outcome of the game is already a foregone conclusion.
That's right.
That's not good for football, and it's certainly not good for young people. And not only the outcome of the games, but if there's such a wide range, you just don't want to have kids put in situations where they're physically,
Gonna get hurt.
well, they could. I just don't want to do it. I just want to make sure I choose my words carefully. But I've watched a lot of football in my life. I've coached a lot of football in my life, and those some of the matchups we have give me pause. Just quite honest with you. But I'll leave it at that. And he said, good at point. We could, but it has to be against the same type of opponents. Right? You can't take Lenoir-Rhyne University and play the University of North Carolina every week and expect that they're going to be competitive. That's not going to happen, right? You can't take University of North Carolina and play the New York Giants and expect that to be a competitive football game.
I don't know the way the Giants are playing right now.
You start comparing programs. You start looking at the sidelines. You start looking at the age of the kids coming out, the classes they're in, and you go, wait a minute, these two teams. They don't. There's a reason we don't match 1As against. Well, I can't even know these classifications anymore, but we don't match a team that has a certain amount of kids in their school with another one down in Charlotte, right? We stay away from that. That's what classifications are for. Well, just because teams are in the same unit, same county, same unit, whatever, doesn't mean if I'm right, Josh. There's 3 teams in this county that are in the same conference. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And there's one that's not, correct?
Yes, sir.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
I mean, really, as an athletic director, Now, is that to say that Shelby High School is a smaller school than Crest and Burns? Yep. But Shelby High School's been good for 100 years. All right. They have an inner city school. It's a city school, and they've been tradition for years, and that's a different situation. Shelby, if you told them they couldn't play Crest, they'd fight you. I'm just saying that
That's tradition. That's tradition.
close matchups are good, but you also have to consider what's happening to kids. Now, hopefully all this will be fine, but it would give me pause. I just tell it like I think, honestly, it'd give me pause, some of these matchups.
I agree 100%. I think it paused to concern, but
It's very difficult to go out and tell kids, you can't fool kids. I mean, you can sometimes, but you can't really fool them. They see film too. And, when you're trying to get kids to go to your program, and they know, well, I got to play, what's going to happen this Friday? When I go out there and I got to play 48 minutes against,
whoever that may be.
If you got freshmen, I'm going to stop. But I'm not upset about it. I'm just concerned for the game. And I'm concerned for the county's game. But I'm also, some of the lopsided scores. I don't know if this is an odd year or it's just, I haven't seen a lot of competitive football. I've been to one every Friday night, and I ain't seen one. I say TC Robeson Freedom was a competitive game, came down to the last series, and it was a one-score game. And I don't think you have to have a one-score game to call it competitive. But most of the games I've been to have been decided midway through the second quarter.
That's right.
Oh, that's not good for the game.
Well, coaches, as always, we appreciate you for giving your insight every single week, talking about the games and talking about everything. We appreciate you as we always do. We're going to go ahead and sign it off for tonight because we are approaching the hour mark. And, coaches, y'all got any final remarks for tonight?
I tell everyone going to Freedom will talk and get there early.
Amen.
It's going to be one of those kind of games. And I got back from South Carolina, 4.5 years ago. I've waited for this game for a long time. Here. So, all you Freedom people, let's get out there, show that paper pride. Because I'm sure the folks from Boone are going to come down and do their thing.
Oh, I'm sure we'll see a bunch on that other side too.
I
wish it was
Friday already. It was Friday already.
Make sure you call me and let me know where we're going to eat. Number one. Number two, thank you, Josh, you and your daddy for just trying to make it the best you can. We'll continue to be right there with you.
Yeah, it's hard to accommodate the people that are working with us sometimes, but you know what? We try to make it work the best we can.
Hey, shut up over there, Josh.
Next Friday, I talked to Robbie, and he's going to go with us. So we got to let him know where we want to eat. So Robbie Bliss is going to be with us. And so,
oh, cool, good.
Yeah. By the way, we need to talk to him about coming on here one time because he could talk better.
Robbie Bliss would be a great, because he's been an AD and a principal. He'd be great for this talk.
Yeah, he would have been good for this, but he's certainly got Robbie. If you know Robbie, he don't mind sharing his opinion.
No, he'll talk to a stranger about his opinion.
All right, sounds good. All right, everybody. Well, we're going to sign off from here tonight. Thank you for watching Big Red Live for Week 7. We'll catch you here for next week for Week 8 previews. Thank you, everybody, and have a good night.
Thank you, brother.
See you, boy.